No, this is not a fake meme patent like the mega guillotine. This one was actually patented, approved, built, and commercialized. Something that fewer than 5% of US patents actually achieve. And boy, was it a hit! People on both sides of the Atlantic got seriously rich off this device. But here's the wild part. Even after some pretty gnarly accidents, they just kept making these human crossbows bigger and bigger. Oh, and eventually, they started setting the human arrows on fire as well. So let's take a closer look at the invention, and afterwards we'll do some digging on the inventor, his dream team, and their legendary claim to fame. The patent is from 1889, and the first sentence is already pretty dope. To quote, "Be it known that I, John Sedora, aerial gymnast, a subject of Her Majesty the Queen of Britain and Ireland, residing at yada yada yada, have invented a new and useful apparatus for projecting gymnasts through space." No, Elon, not this space, we're talking circus space. And he didn't just file it in the US, but also in Germany, the UK, and France, which was quite a pain in the ass back in the day, so he was really dedicated. Now, to all the try-hard dads out there, no, you can't rent a human crossbow for your kid's Minecraft-themed birthday party. It's not a bouncy castle. It's meant to be used by professional acrobats who are positioned face down on a plank, feet braced, ready to be launched above the crowds by enormous rubber bands. It's like any other crossbow, but much larger, and instead of you firing it, it fires you. To draw the crossbow, an assistant would winch back the footrest, and the tension built up in those rubber cords was massive. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. At a dramatic cue, fire! A lever would be triggered. Sedora's crossbow was actually a clever twist on a stunt that was already blowing minds: the human cannonball. Because apparently in 1877, nothing said family entertainment like strapping a 14-year-old into a cannon and lighting the fuse. That girl was Giselle, the first human cannonball. Sedora saw her and probably thought, cool, but what if we swap the cannon for a giant, deadly medieval weapon? But he went even further, as his patent suggests putting a paper hoop in the flight path and also hiding the whole mess of ugly rubber bands and mechanical bits behind curtains. So that way the audience would only see this massive crossbow and then whoosh, a human magically flying through the air. So yeah, Sedora, he didn't just design the machine, he storyboarded the entire show. Which begs the question, who was this mad genius? So before the inception of the human crossbow, John Sedora was already killing it as an English acrobat. We're talking triple somersaults between flying trapezes, the whole 9 yards. And by the 1880s, he'd put together this crew called the Flying Sedoras. But here's the thing, John wasn't the star of his own show. That honor went to the Murphy sisters. Mary Murphy had run away from home after her parents died and somehow ended up with the Flying Sedoras. Her sister Frances later joined as well. These girls were absolute naturals, fearless and aerodynamic. Both sisters took turns being shot out of the human crossbow. But here's where it gets really wild. They would get caught by the other sister hanging upside down from a trapeze. Their act was called Alar the Human Arrow, and it absolutely blew up in the late 1800s. They were the headline act for the Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth. They had perfect timing too, since circuses at that time just started crossing the Atlantic and go global. The press went absolutely nuts for them. One journalist called it the crowning miracle of physical and mechanical sensation, surpassing adequate description, the bravest of all living artists. And their 40-foot launch landed them in the Guinness World Records as the first human arrow. Now, little side note, John's patent shows a man as the human projectile, but there's actually zero evidence that anyone other than these two sisters ever performed the stunt. Using women wasn't just a coincidence. Back in the day, audiences thought it was way more thrilling because humans were supposed to be more fragile. The Murphy sisters basically said, "Hold my washcloth," and became poster girls for the so-called New Woman movement. You know, women who chose careers over just being housewives. And the circus fully embraced it. They plastered the New Woman all over their posters. because nothing sells tickets like defying social expectations while getting shot out of a giant crossbow. But let's be real, when your act involves launching humans out of oversized medieval weaponry, things can go wrong. Amazingly, the Isidoras managed to perform the human arrow stunt for years without major injuries. But there was one terrifying night. It happened at Madison Square Garden in New York. During a packed performance, the crossbow misfired. Instead of sending Frances soaring, the rig malfunctioned and smacked her mid-act, knocking her unconscious in front of the entire crowd. Her husband rushed up to rescue her, and the next day was plastered all over the newspapers. Luckily, she fully recovered and kept performing. And of course, the circus fully leaned into the drama again, with their posters proudly stating, "No one has ever been killed in our performance." Mary died in early 1902, and by 1910, the Flying Isidoras disbanded. It was the end of an era. But not for our old daredevil Frances. She kept performing till 1916 with different acts, and her specialty being something called teeth spinning. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. She'd bite down on a hook and hang from a trapeze by her teeth, spinning around above the crowd. So she pivoted from human arrow to human fidget spinner. Let's fast forward to the 1990s, when someone at Ringling Brothers felt nostalgia for the previous 90s and thought, yeah, let's bring that back. So in 1996, to mark the 100-year anniversary of the original human arrow, they unveiled a modern reiteration of the act. A girl named Ariana was launched 130 feet across the arena by a 20-foot-long crossbow. And it didn't stop there. Not long after, a professional human cannonball in the US decided to raise the bar. He got shot 104 feet while fully engulfed in flames. So while we raised the bar since then, back in the late 1800s, the human crossbow was everything we loved. Invention, danger, and just the right amount of madness. And it didn't just drop jaws, it launched two fearless women into the spotlight at a time when that kind of visibility was rare. It stunned crowds, filled tents, and helped catapult circus culture into a global obsession. So while the pattern looks absolutely nuts at first sight, it was definitely a home run for our guy, John Isidora.